Hello, my name is Danica Hopkins, and I will be presenting on initiatives and referendums in Arizona. To begin, let's quickly go over what they are and what their definitions mean. Initiatives, as described in Understanding the Arizona Constitution by McLaury, is a constitutional allowance for citizens to make changes to the state's constitution on their own. While there is a procedure to passing an initiative, this process is not only unique to Arizona, but also to 16 other states as well. This is one of many voter and citizens' right in Arizona boundary, including voting on referendums. Referendums are more commonly used in Arizona as it is another method to altering the state's constitution. Contrary to citizens proposing an initiative, referendums are proposed by the state's legislator. Both state House and Senate branches must be able to agree upon and propose this amendment and have the majority of votes in order for it to be passed. Now let's talk about how they are created. Initiatives are created by registered voters in Arizona. The initiator files a petition with the Secretary of State on proposing a single subject. Once this is properly filed, they will be able to disperse amongst fellow registered voters. For the initiative to become official on the general election ballot, the initiator needs to collect at least 15% of registered voter signatures. Currently in Arizona, that amounts to 625,262 voters as of 2023. This process may be a little bit rigorous, but it is meant to filter serious inquiries and proposals only. After the signatures are collected, the initiative will be available on the following general election ballot. Voters will simply vote yes or no, and the majority of votes win. To create a referendum, the state legislator must propose the change and independently approve it by the House and Senate by majority of vote in order for it to be available on the general election ballot. Voters then will be able to vote on such referendums where a majority of votes also win. However, the legislator may petition for the special election, which is another election to happen sooner because the general election may be too far away to vote upon. Now let's compare and contrast the initiatives and referendums. It is evident that each have appeared in every general election. However, having exceptionally large number of proposals is not necessarily a good thing. Voters have the responsibility and obligation to complete their own research on these matters. Voter guides are available in each election, but that does not refrain from voters simply checking boxes blindly. Both initiatives and referendums have higher media and people to influence voters. For example, social media page could contribute more financial support compared to its rival, but that doesn't mean that their cause or proposal is better than the other. Through direct democracy, voters are required to ensure the safety and well-being of their state. Arizona is held to the highest standard through their votes. Initiatives proposed by Arizona citizens have the reputation of attempting to jump through hoops and initiate extreme efforts. Additionally, initiatives can lack professional qualities and structure, unlike initiatives and referendums, the government leaders have entire systems and teams and organizations to assist in its creation. To complement this, certain leaders may have just the right friends or team to manipulate and adjust language to attract more voters. This special form of marketing is achievable through networking, connections, and more. Just because a referendum is coming from the legislative branch of the government does not mean that's mutually beneficial for American citizens. And with that, we're going to go to part 2. Let's take a look at the pros and cons of initiatives. The initiative process allows registered voters in Arizona to be able to propose a reform to the betterment of their state. Through this, they must be able to network and collaborate with their community. Instead of the government making all the decisions for the state, initiatives create a separation of power. Initiatives also support direct democracy, which we will dive into in a little bit. Finally, another pro would be better representation in Arizona's community with the process of initiatives. Let's move on to the cons of initiatives. There are good chances that not all the signatures that the initiator collect are actually registered voters. In fact, initiators should aim way higher than just 15% of voters in order to avoid not meeting the mark. Previous data has proven while it's not impossible, chances of your initiative even getting to the stage of becoming on the ballot are slimmer. Initiatives are also required to be in uniformity with the U.S. constitutional standards in order for it to be received. Public officials have been a little cautious and wary of initiatives since they are proposed by the public. There's also been a history of progressive leaders in the community illegally paying for signatures. Now let's move on to the pros of referendums. That includes the professional structure of creating a referendum. They have more financial resources and powers to get the job done, and government influencers. Now, the cons of referendums include the legislative branch has a history of excluding minority groups. According to Houghton's New Mexico History Review, legislators have focused efforts in paying the big taxpayers or large interests in the past. This corporate focus and mindset has also been linked to legislative tampering, which is where the legislators have somewhat ignored the voters' decision of the community and gone with other directions instead of listening, according to Arizona State University. Now, how do they both support direct democracy? Democracy is described as ruling for the people. One moment. Ruling of the people. It really puts the power back into the hands of the people and the voters. In fact, this has not always been widely accepted. The founding fathers did not truly believe in the capabilities of citizens to govern themselves and make decisions. And James Madison and Alexander Hamilton wrote in the Federalist Paper that they believed that the citizens would choose passion and vote on that instead of reason. However, the supporters of this see that initiatives provide more realistic ways for reforming the government, countering cozy relationships between the officials, compelling the government to take more action and be more attentive, enabling the powerless groups to plead their case, creating a more engaged electorate and healthier democracy, and it also allows governors to achieve their goals if their legislators don't support them. To conclude this information today, let's review the main highlights. Initiatives are proposed by the Arizona citizens, also known as registered voters. They must confirm with the Secretary of State that they have gained at least 15% of registered voter signatures in order for their initiative to be put on the ballot in the upcoming election. When it is available in the election, they will need the majority of votes for it to be passed. Meanwhile, referendums are proposed by the House and Senate or legislature of Arizona and need to be passed by the majority of votes in order for it to be available on the general election. Again, in order for it to pass on the general election, it will need the majority of votes from the Arizona citizens. Initiatives give citizens the opportunity to alter Arizona's constitution. Meanwhile, the referendums have more of a professional structure. Both of these support direct democracy because the power is put back into the hands of the voters and the people of Arizona. And with that, here are my references, and thank you.